Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, then shame on both of us. The question is, how many times can you fail a drug test or fail for performance enhancing drugs and not be banned or enhanced questioning regarding this? Now, I've done videos on steroids before back in the day, spoken to people about this, people, well-established people within the sport and within that field, in terms of Gabe Montoya. I even spoke to Victor Conte at one time. And there is a lot of elements that go into drug testing and the way they go through these protocols. The fight with Dillian White's been cancelled. Dillian White and Edge has been called off due to Dillian White failing the third test. Now, Dillian White is due a fair hearing. He's due to go through the process, which is the only way it can be done, which is fair across the board. However, if you've been flagged 3 times for performance enhancing drugs, extra scrutiny has to be had. Extra questions have to be asked. And how many times can you say, it wasn't my fault, it was a bad test, it was a tainted supplement, it was this, it was that? There's only so many times you could use those reasonings behind it. It's like getting struck by lightning. A mistake is a rare occasion. To be struck by lightning 3 times, you must have the worst luck in the world. There are tests you could do to indicate what's in your system. More enhanced testing than even what WADA does. You could do a hair follicle test where they take a piece of your hair and it tells you everything about what you've taken, and if you've ever taken something like that. That is extremely expensive and must be not viable for boxing. However, the point I'm making is that more can be done. I don't need to tell you that sports in general is rife with performance enhancing drugs. It is everywhere. And as you will hear from everyone in combat sports world, be it boxing, be it MMA, anything where you're fighting and hurting people, the risks are so dangerous. So we have to do more, especially when these risks are there. This is not a damning review on Dillian White saying, well, he's failed 3 times for 3 different reasons, so he must be cheating. I can't say that. You can't say that. You only could go by the protocols set by the testing organizations, which say whatever. However, you've got to ask yourself the question. If you're flagged 3 times, what are you doing, or who is in your camp, or what is going on within your immediate environment which is causing you to flag? There are people that take performance enhancing drugs, a lot of them don't get caught. And the reason why they don't get caught is because they do something called cycling, where a drug has a detection time of a certain amount of days, weeks, months. So, and then you also have something called residual benefits, which means when you take those drugs and you come off them, you keep the performance enhancements of that drug. So you could take, if you fight twice a year, once a year, 3 times a year, There are, so even if you fight 6 times a year, there are drugs that will have benefits in your system within 24 to 48 hours. And there's drugs that will clear your system within a very, very short time. I think they call it a half-life, and then it goes out of your system and it runs out. So the point I'm making is that people could be taking performance enhancing drugs before fights, after fights, and get cleared because they cycled at the right time. If you do that cycle wrong, then you get lower traces or trace amounts, as you may hear. There was an issue in MMA with John Jones a few years ago where he had something called picograms, where stuff he's taken years and years before, over in the past, there's still a residual amount of it within his system, and it flagged. Dustin White had an issue with the Rivas fight and had got cleared the day of the fight, and Rivas' team wasn't informed. Again, that's happened multiple times across sports, not just Dustin White, which again is another red flag. And you know, it's getting dangerous. And when I say it's getting dangerous, is that the rule in the science of performance enhancing drugs is that the cheats are ahead of the testing, whereas you don't know what people are taking until you have a source or a sample of it to search it for. Now, there are other red flags in your body, whereas if you have high levels of testosterone, if you had a high amount of red blood cells or white blood cells or whatever it is, they can say, wait a minute, that's not natural, that's not this, and then they reverse it back and work out what you've done. But a lot of times you need a source or a piece of something to say, this is what they're taking, so this is what you need to look for. This same thing goes out with the blood doping, whereas people obviously take some of their clean blood out and then they take stuff and they flush it out their system, and then sometimes that causes a high amount of red blood cells and it causes a red flag. But they say, well, you've got a high amount of red blood cells, which is unusual, but there's no actual trace of what you've been taking. The point I'm making is that boxing needs to tighten these rules and do something to prevent this from happening again. In athletics, in the 100 meters, once you have a once false start, if anyone false starts after that, then you're out the race. And boxing needs a rule similar to that. Whereas, all right then, something's happened, you've been flagged, you were cleared, or you weren't cleared, or you've done a ban, or whatever it is. However, if you flag again, we're calling it a day. Because the testing organizations, the boxers, the commissions, and everyone else knows there's ways around drug testing. We've all even heard the stories of people having other people's urine in the bag. So when you go to pee in your cup and the examiner's there, you squirt in something different, which is not yours. There's ways around it. And this is what I'm saying, whereas, and also, let's be honest as well, there is the people error as well. And when I say the people error, you can have a testing person that may take a fee not to watch when you do your thing, so the sample's not clean. And this is what I'm trying to say. There's ways around it. Let's be fair, these are people, this is life, this is what people do. There's good people, there's bad people, there's people that want to make a little extra money and whatever. It's easy to say have a zero tolerance in boxing or combat sports when it comes to stuff like with steroids and performance enhancing drugs. because the chances, once you're flagged, it's in your system. So the chances are is either you've taken it, or in the rare cases, you've been flagged because a contamination, yeah? That could be in the labs, that could be in your gym, that could be some other reason why you're contaminated. But it's already in your system. So you don't want to punish the people, the very, very small percentage of people that have been flagged for something they didn't do. However, the chances of that happening is low because, like I said, majority of the times it's in your system, you've taken something. Human nature is, you get caught doing something wrong, you lie. That's why you have a legal system. Yeah? People lie. No one's going to admit to doing something wrong, especially in the public. People are not going to admit to cheating, to say that I need to do something more to win this or to do this. I mean, forget boxing. People cheat in the sprint. People cheat in cycling. I have no idea, but there's most probably a way to cheat performance-wise in table tennis. Yeah, that's my point. That the options are always there. The only way to stamp out this issue is that zero tolerance rule. You get caught once, fool me once, there you go. Once you get to fool me twice, it should be over. Share your thoughts and comments below. Thank you for watching.